So what are games bringing out in society, and what could they or should they be bringing out? Let's start with Tobias. Thank you for your question.
Well, I think Jesus, that's a big question.
You get to pick like a segment of it.
Yeah. I think, for example, I don't think Facebook would have been as popular without a foundation of computer gamers, because in a way Facebook is a game, because you sort of collect and you upgrade and stuff like that. I think the notion of gamification is interesting to see how various aspects of society tends to be measured in another way. I'm not saying it's either good or bad, but I think the influence of game mechanics in other areas is it's probably going to be more and more present in all walks of life. And
that could certainly be problematic if the idea of game mechanics is reduced only to competitive structures, for instance. While they are, of course, all kinds of things. But in gamification, typically not the width of game mechanics isn't always represented in gamification as a buzzword, certainly. Björn, what would you have to say?
Yeah, we have. There are a lot of terms now that are being appropriated by other domains that are linked to games, because, of course, they recognize the huge engagement. And back in the 90s was the last time it was appropriated, and then it was called edutainment and these all this. Then we should use digital means to enhance learning in different ways. It didn't really work out. We see what happens this time around. Gamification is something that is spreading rapidly, and is being used by more and more companies in trying to borrow aspects of engagement and enthusiasm and dedication to the task, and trying to solve other boring tasks that they need to be done. And you could be very naive, and we have some horrible examples, but we also have some examples that show some promise in that respect, if it's done with some knowledge about how you make games and how you can, and not look too much on only the mechanics, because entering times into a timesheet is still boring, even if I get a banner or a reward or something. It's still a horrible task.
What about the content side of things? Then there seems to be there was a relatively clear implication in this question that maybe the content of games isn't always the most constructive. How do you feel about this? I'm looking perhaps at Sigurlina. I'm sure you get to answer this question all the time, but how do you feel about this personally? What games could do?
I feel quite strongly about what games could do, and what they do is what they teach you, hand-eye coordination, problem solving, thinking very fast, playing with friends, building in multiplayer games, big societies of friends, and teaching people to work together. So I feel like games bring a lot of constructive elements into our lives that we might not see unless we, take a look at it and think about it. Because I think it's easy to sort of give games a bad rap, or make assumptions that games that depict a certain element influence that in people's lives, which hasn't really been proven. Yeah. But then I think if we talk about it in the smaller games, I see, my kid, my 2-year-old, playing with a tablet game and learning the alphabet way before I actually started thinking about, teaching her the alphabet, because she picks it up from a neatly constructed learning game. And I think that those are sort of micro and macro examples of what games teach you and what games bring you. And in some cases, they bring you societies of people, like work together in the game EVE Online that my previous company made, where 350,000 people play together in the same universe, forming a real virtual universe.